VCR Redux will begin in T-minus 5 minutes.
What the fart is VCR Redux?
It's the show where we take movies from the VCR era and bring them back to today.
Well, how do we do that?
Well, we start by talking about a VHS classic, and usually you'll say something like,
I haven't been this uncomfortable since I watched Meatballs 4, Meatballs to the Rescue with my parents. Oh yeah, or you'll say something stupid like,
I wish we lived in a world where the Garbage Pail Kids made as many movies as the Muppets.
but I know you'll always see it through with a positive attitude.
I hate this movie, I hate being here, I hate all of this. Oh, Jamie Kennedy. Oh, well, shit. Well, let's go for this.
He was in Son of Mask. This is genius.
I am not a gamer. I'd rather read books. I'm just
Ian's like the old lady that's like, I got video game monsters, I got video game monsters in here.
As long as we respect the passion and the artistry that went into these films.
You know, obviously they took this movie, it's 93, right? And you're like, what do you want to see in your Mario movie? And they're like, oh, we want it to be grim, we want a lot of death, we want tits and ass.
Oh, and then we start the pitch ideas with modern day sequels like
Weekend at Bernie's 3, Cocaine Mountain.
Sometimes we take it kind of seriously.
I'll watch a Paul Verhoeven alien movie.
Oh my gosh, that alien will have more vaginas than anything you've ever seen in your life. Sometimes this Hawaiian shirted fool will pitch something stupid like,
I would take out the virtual reality stuff and just have it be about Jeff Fahey mowing the lawn.
Sometimes the best pitches come from the live chat.
Alex Bonafonte also pitches Grand Theft Starfighter Vice Galaxy.
Wait, I thought I had the best pitches.
And what happens at the end of the movie? The ultimate fart. The fart that the warmth goes like all the way down to your socks.
The only rules are, there are no rules. Sometimes we cross over franchises.
Only the truck from Tango and Cash can kill Christine.
And sometimes we travel back in time.
Like 1995 is missing a good Universal Soldier sequel.
But you never know what we're gonna pitch next.
What do you want? Do you want Daniel Stern behind like a muzzled mask? Like,
We all know it should be Pesci behind the mask, and like underneath the mask, you should hear him going like, fritter, 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 fritter.
You are so proud of yourself for that one. I can't stand you.
I would also love to see a Charles Bronson version of It's a Wonderful Life.
What?
Direct to DVD.
If you made a shot-for-shot remake of Scarface with Goofy as Al Pacino, it would be amazing. Gosh, you need me to be the bad guy.
It's like the worst 1987 Disney movie Disney ever made. Schlongo, directed by Jim Wynorski.
Like, I would watch a whole bowl of that.
Do the John Holmes story. Add a comedy spin to it.
Wow, the Wonderland murders are so funny.
I'd watch it on my mobile.
Something happens and he goes into a coma. He gets like, hit by a car or something. I know this is dark, but like, bear with me. He's got to go on.
Did you just go like Hard to Kill with Ferris Bueller?
I'd watch it on my iPad.
If you want to just like throw in the kitchen sink, it all works. Like Alien versus Predator versus RoboCop, like if that works. Alien versus Predator versus Terminator, that works.
Alien versus Predator versus Ernest, that works.
That works.
I respect everything you just said. I need David Silver and Terry Silver and the Sloan family all learning the Quicksilver, but they're doing it in Breakin' 3 Hydraulic Boogaloo. And it's underwater. It's gonna be incredible. Eat your fucking shit out, James Cameron. I got the underwater movie you can't touch.
That was the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life.
Mr. Toxie Goes to Washington.
My ass would be in the theater tomorrow.
If Harley Quinn gets 7 movies, then Tank Girl should get at least 70.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
I mean, why should we even bother with Look Who's Talking when Air Bud is soaring to new highs?
All I know is I want Danny McBride.
I'd want him doing anything other than writing Halloween movies, honestly. Anything that keeps him away from that fucking job, I'm for it.
Just let him talk out of his butt. I don't care how he does it.
I'd rather not.
Austin Powers doing the Macarena.
That would be the opening credits. Come on.
But we have not yet had Die Hard on a half pipe. What if John McClane Jr. was a pro skateboarder and also an avid machine gun enthusiast? Skater Die Hard.
What up, virtual people? Welcome to the 139th episode of VCR Redux, where we take your favorite franchises out of the analog era and bring them back to 2024. I'm your host, pop culture punk Chris Stiles, joined as always by my co-host with the most, film professor Ian Klink. And we have two radical guests on the show tonight. First
Well
up,
done.
one half of the genius behind Retro Fiend Radio, makers of the finest canon and martial arts docs on the net. Dustin Nino's back on the show.
What up? What up?
And rounding out this righteous crew, Crash Romeo guitarist and Street Fighter Tournament Edition champion Steven Zangief Anderson is back on the show.
Oh, and thank you for having me.
Thank
You guys
for
all got
coming
such cool
on.
credentials, man. I need some better credentials.
I have no credentials to speak of, but
You're the
I do have
host
some.
of the show.
Well, I don't know what that's worth. That and a nickel will get you a phone call in 1955. But I do have something pretty cool because today we are here to break out the MIAC, to fire off a rim shot, and to finally meet Verne. That's right, folks. This world needs Ernest 10, and we're here to give it to you.
Know what I mean?
Before Ian asks if there it is, it's too late. I was gonna say before he asks if we know what he means, we got a dish on how Ernest came into our lives and what we love about him. And of course, that goes double for you at home and everyone watching the live chat. Was it love at first Laserdisc, Vital VHS? Hit us up in the chat and let us know how Ernest came into your lives. So, Steve, when
Yes,
did
sir.
you first get Ernested?
The first time I ever got P-World was
Nothing better.
I said, yeah,
That is better.
doing
I
your
like that.
job for you. So I don't recall exactly. It might have been a Vital VHS, I'm guessing. But I do know that it would have been Camp. Camp would have been my first forte
Camp
into
is Camp is a pretty solid first forte.
I think
we'll
I
get into
watched
it.
Camp a bunch of times over until realizing that there were even more of them out there.
There's like the Ernest movies are kind of like the Beatles albums, and like
Exactly. I say that all the time.
That was poetry.
There's-
Whatever you just said, you don't even need to add anything else to the end of your sentence there. The Ernest movies are like Beatles albums.
they are. There's like
I want
the
that on a
pre-Sergeant.
shirt.
There's the pre-Sergeant Pepper's era, and there's the post-Sergeant Pepper's era. It's like before and after. They're different bands, like different kind of things. And that's for Ernest. Like I feel like Camp is in those like early. It's in like if you like Revolver and you like She Loves You, then you like Camp. You like the early shit.
One
if
of
you
the
want
things
Slam Dunk Rides Again Goes to Africa, you want the post-Sergeant Pepper. Ernest.
I am a 39-year-old man, and publicly on the internet, I'm going to admit that I love Chris Stiles for what you just said and everything about what I'm tearing up. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna end my feed now because we don't
This
even
is
need the
how-
rest of a show.
See, this is how the bond works between us because people wonder at the show we're always going at it, but 1 out of every 10 things that each of us say will earn the other one's respect and
It's
good
so
grace
true.
for like
the
the next
year.
9 abhorrent abominations that will come out of their mouths for the rest of this
It's
show.
so true.
So enjoy your moment of zen while you have it, folks.
Oh
But-
man, I want to know what's the White Album of the Ernest video library.
Oh,
I have an
Jail.
answer for that. I have an answer for that.
Okay, well, don't keep everyone waiting.
Oh, hey Verne, it's me, Ernest.
Oh,
That TV show
interesting.
is the White Album. Every hit is weird, and every episode is everything you want and everything you need.
God, I almost feel like that's Let It Be though, or like the rooftop concert. If you really want to get into the minutia of Beatlesdom and like isolate everyone else in the room.
Yeah,
that's
no,
not
we
a
could
fan.
no. Let's move on.
Yes, yeah, right. Let's move on from this Beatles Ernest metaphor.
No,
Um,
no, this is everything. No, this is so true. No,
I
no,
broke
it's so,
Ian
no, it is
in record
so
time. We're
true
9
though,
minutes in.
because let's be honest, nobody likes Abbey Road, all right? And let's be honest, Slam Dunk Ernest is Abbey Road. I can
Yeah.
find nobody who likes Slam Dunk Ernest.
What was the most
I
overtly
love basketball,
racist
and I even
Beatles
won't argue
album?
with them.
Because I have a feeling I could probably pair that one up pretty
What,
quick.
Ernest Goes to Africa?
No, Ian. No, it's not
Oh my
Ernest
God.
Goes to Africa. It's of course
Somehow
it's
I
Ernest
have a
Goes to
feeling,
Africa.
yeah. Somehow I could see it being a photo finish between that and Slam Dunk. Honestly, I've tried to watch Slam Dunk so many times because it was on like Pluto or Tubi, and it's like I fall asleep every time.
Slam Dunk doesn't take it there because I think Goes to Africa took it there enough for fucking all of them. You know what I mean? To not have to. But
well,
and then
I
some.
forgot about that.
Before we get deep in. Before we get deep into the B-sides of the Let It Be untouched cuts, the Let It Be naked mix, yeah.
Ernest Rides Again is literally
Let It Be naked.
So
I want to know how the Nino first. What was his gateway drug of choice into the Ernest franchise?
Yeah, like Steven, it was definitely Ernest Goes to Camp. I just remember watching this a bunch of times with my older sister. Just we love this stupid movie. It was on replay in our house forever. I don't know. It was just so weird too. Iron Eyes Cody. It's just I loved Iron Eyes Cody. It was
Camp is such a I guess the word would be time capsule kind of movie, I want to say, where that like it really takes you back to like a different era. Like, those first couple, I even forget sometimes that like those first couple Ernest movies were actually in theaters and they were like successful movies. They didn't cost much. They didn't make a ton, but like they definitely were quite profitable for the.
I vividly remember seeing Ernest Scared Stupid in the theater.
That was
we
the
went to
last
go
one,
see
I
Ernest
think.
Scared Stupid in the theater.
Which is funny, that was the last one. That one probably you would assume would have made more money than any of the others. Although I think financially, Ernest Saves Christmas was the kind of the moneymaker because of the whole holiday thing, and you're probably
that was released, I believe, as like a televised special.
What?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it was like right. It was like so. It was that and like this is just coming to me now. It was that and Smurfs or some shit like that. It was like a back-to-back thing. These like big movie specials that were on one of those major channels back then.
Wow.
I don't know if it hit theaters a little bit before that and whatever, but like that's how that went. It was like a big televised event.
Well, it would have played on
ABC.
Yeah, I mean, especially when Disney bought ABC. I mean, they would have definitely put Ernest Saves Christmas on.
You know about this stuff more than me. And when was it that Disney bought ABC?
That would have been 94.
94. Okay, so that would have been before. That's Ernest. Those Ernest movies would have been before that. Like I think I want to say Saves Christmas was 88.
Really?
It's definitely
that old?
it's a little bit older than you would think. I could be wrong, but I if you're in the comments, fact check me if you got IMDb handy or whatever. But it's Steve's on it. So it's interesting. I feel like Camp was probably my first. I really kind of can't even remember. But I'm kind of curious how young Iowa Ian, what gas station did he wander into and rent Ernest and
I can tell you I remember it vividly because that VHS cover of Ernest Goes to Camp, Humboldt. I know I've talked about this before, but the Humboldt movie theater in Humboldt, Iowa. It was the movie theater on one side and the VHS rental store on the other. We'd go see a movie and then we'd go rent a movie. So. I remember, that was the kids section. I remember renting Ernest Goes to Camp, and I loved it. But I'll tell you what really got me into Ernest was the Family Channel in the early 90s. At about 6:30 in the morning, would replay Ernest. Hey Verne, it's me, Ernest. Would play those episodes. And that's what tugs at my heart. That, aside that show being the first show for people with ADD, I swear that show was meant for people with ADD. That show is incredible.
Can I ask you real quick? Because I'm a little lost on this. So I was under the impression that this was originally some kind of like a commercial campaign,
That is
It
true.
was.
This character was
Ernest,
made up for?
Ernest started. Yeah.
Yes.
Ernest
Yeah. Well,
literally-
I was gonna get into that in a minute, but
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
No. Please.
For somebody who really actually dug these like a whole lot, I missed the fucking boat on the show. I didn't realize that it was like a televised show
Oh,
as well.
Steve, go to YouTube.
I remember the show.
This show.
He doesn't have to go to YouTube. He lives with me. I have the whole show on DVD. If you really want it. And it's on streaming. It's all on streaming also.
Well, and the show was actually one of the cheapest shows I've ever. As I'm older and I'm watching it, I realize how cheap the show was.
Yeah,
It
it's
literally-
Pee-wee's Playhouse with on a nickel and a dream.
But
you know?
it's like 14 episodes, and they have the same skit in all 14 episodes for like there's like 17 skits, but there's 14 different versions of each skit. So Ernest always goes in and gets his hair cut. But it's
Okay.
like this episode is about school. This episode is about spelling contest. This episode's about the
Sounds like the movies. Yeah.
well, but they do the same joke. Like Ernest plays a drill sergeant, and he like it's the same setup, the same. So you know
he
what
plays
they
the
did.
same characters. He'll play the
Yeah, so they
he'll play the
filmed
lady
it
in the
all-
green dress. You know,
Yeah, so it's like-
"Whoa, boys,
Yeah, so it's like-
whoa, boys."
Don't get me started on the old lady Ernest. Probably the greatest
She's the
invention.
best. She's the fucking best.
All right, F it. We're just gonna
That's the
talk
Tony.
about. I'll come back to-
That's the Tony Clifton of this whole equation. That's the like
The
you know.
way-
That's the
way
part that
to
could
the
live on.
world is
you know, like I-
everything. Oh look, my son came in to visit his old mother. Woe is me, the one who enjoys life.
I broke Ian twice now. Twice I got you.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it seems that camp is everyone's gateway drug who was around our age
Mm-hmm.
in the 80s, and I am not surprised. But I do want to check in with the chat and see if anyone has a different story to tell. Let's see who's in the chat. We got Angie Saunders, Cobra Kai Never Dies, Lux Luthor, Monica Thyman, Mikey Riffraff, Whiskey 41, Starvinity, and Gold's Code. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Whiskey 41 says, I have not seen them since I was a large child. Gold's Code says, Ernest goes to Retro Fiend Radio. I got replaced by Dustin. Not cool. Whiskey 41 says, Ernest goes to Meth Cook School. The pitches are already starting. Oh, man. There's already Ernest.
Yeah,
goes to
Ernest.
Air-
Oh, you don't
No.
insult my Ernest.
You don't have to. You don't have to. But MK2 in the chat, Kyle Camper, our tech man himself. So I saw Scared Stupid on DVD in my internet friend's house in West Virginia a couple of years ago. That sounds like the beginning of a How to Catch a Predator episode.
What's an internet
did
friend?
not come with subtitles. So I was
inside of my internet friend's house. I like
You're
that.
going to jail. Know what I mean?
So I was up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. He says, never stop talking about the Beatles. Please tell Ian to go fuck himself because I love Abbey Road. So
Ian, go fuck yourself.
take
No,
that.
no, shut up. Shut up, internet. I am tired of you people. It was the album they didn't want to release. It's the album that they all fought making. You all know it's a piece of crap. Knock it off.
3 times we broke Ian now. 3
tired.
times.
Or
It's
Ian,
like
gonna
it,
get an
it's
aneurysm.
literally you listen to that album, you know it's not that good, and you all
Ooh.
just won't admit it because they're the Beatles.
Well, getting back to Ernest, I will tell you what is really good. There's a pitch that just came in the chat. I don't want to read it yet because it's so good, but you can all enjoy it in the chat for now because that makes my brain go off in a million directions, Whiskey 41. But I guess people want to hear my first Ernest story. It was camp, and then I think it was jail. But I literally, it took the 3 of you all saying it was camp for me to remember that it was camp. I kind of didn't know. So I was like, was it camp?
It all
Was it
mixes
jail? Or was it
together.
the show? How do you like the California Raisins? There's certain things where it's like, how did that enter my brain? There was a show, but there was also these commercials, and there's just certain things of the 80s that you're you have these fond memories of when you were young. Anyway.
Well, the
Ernest is one of the-
commercials were such a hit. I mean, they were
Right.
it was the cheapest ad campaign in all of history.
It was mostly a camera following him as he shuffled around
Yeah,
speaking,
it was Verne.
speaking
Yeah,
like
Verne.
fast
They
paced.
have those little
Verne.
segments in every movie,
right?
where it's,
And he's just
the
knocking
Verne
shit
thing.
over and falling through walls, and
And that's what it was. And it was literally him going like, "Hey, Verne, you know what I like? Hello, Panda." It's like that was the commercials, and it worked because it was like a local chain in the Carolinas.
See, I was thinking about this before, and it's interesting. This is a time where, and I don't think it's like this anymore. I don't think there's anything like this anymore. This is a time where a person or an actor or whatever could, instead of trying to read from movies or trying to whatever. They could literally make up a character or whatever and develop an entire world around that one particular character that doesn't actually have anything tethered to it. Like Ernest is just Ernest. He's not his job. He's not his whatever. But like you had Ernest, you had Pee Wee Herman, you had Elvira to an extent. You had you know, like you had fuck, who else was you? Well, Bill Nye the Science Guy, he had an agenda, but like but like all these, you know, these Mr. Rogers, you know, like these were people who were just like, I'm going to create a character based off of nothing, you know, and I'm going to just grow that character instead of my own personal stardom, you know, like, and that nobody does anything like that anymore. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you're totally right, but I feel like that's kind of the sort of like Ernest PeeWee thing has sort of been that, like, I'm gonna just kind of invent this persona and just be this other person, and people won't really know my real name. But like a lot of everyone knows it's Paul Rubens and Jim Barney and, you know, blah 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 blah. But I feel like that became like a thing with music, and no one like plays these types of characters for like, you know, entertainment anymore. It's like, you know, like Sean Combs becomes Puff Daddy, and then he becomes P. Diddy, and then he becomes Diddy, and then he becomes like, you know, on the run.
Yeah, but that's emphatic. That's
Like,
emphatically him.
Why are
though.
you bringing that up as an example? That's
I mean, you never see musicians going around acting like their other alter egos. You know what I mean? We're like it's not like Jim Varney showing up to set acting like Ernest on the Beverly Hillbillies. You know, like it's a role. You know, it's still a role that they've created.
Right. And like same thing with Paul Rubens. He wasn't showing up as like Pee Wee, like, you know,
I fucking hope not. Yeah.
driving on the lot, like, ha! You know.
Yeah, Ernest was the answer to my I don't know, this is gonna be like sacrilege or whatever, but like Pee Wee never really hit for me the way that it did with most people, I think, our age. But Ernest did, weirdly enough.
I understand what you're saying. There was, I will say, we do come from a generation where, you know, like my daughter, right? I'll say this. She has so many different shows that she watches, right? Like there's so many different, it's David, it's Paw Patrol, it's this, it's Disney, it's Mickey Mouse. Mine was literally like, it was, like I said, 6:30 every morning before school. I got to watch Ernest. I had to be up, ready, dressed, and had my breakfast so I could watch Hey Verne, It's Me, Ernest. Like, I had to watch that show.
Sure.
Yeah. And you know, it was like, if I had to choose, it would have been Ernest over Pee Wee. I loved Pee Wee Herman. Like, don't get me wrong, but
the movies are great. I just, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Ernest, you know, it's
They're just
funny.
so much fun.
Ernest had more of a life. I mean, like, I guess count wise than Pee Wee.
Well, I mean, it's 9 movies as opposed to
you know,
it's going on 3 now. But like quantity over quality, there, you know, a little bit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's interesting. There was more Ernest than there was Pee Wee, but Pee Wee kind of hit harder, I think.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that. I often wondered, like, why didn't we get that many Pee Wee movies? Like, why didn't we get like 9 of them, like we got with Ernest?
He also had a super successful show going on.
Yeah, right. And like, you know, they both had shows, you know.
I think my answer to that, Chris, is in Jim Varney versus Paul Rubens. I think Paul Rubens didn't want to be Pee Wee more so than I think Jim Varney
was comfortable being
Ernest. I think Jim Varney really loved being this character, really, you know, went with it. Whereas Paul Rubens, I feel like Paul Rubens stumbled upon Pee Wee because Pee Wee wasn't supposed to be a kid's thing.
Right.
Pee Wee wasn't supposed to be this.
Right. At the end of the day, like, Ernest is a lovable goof to everyone, where like Pee Wee is a fun, bombastic presence to children, and then to other adults, he's like, you know, there's something, it's a little, you know, it's a little off, it's a little weird, it's a little whatever. Like, I'm sure you know, he's
Pee Wee is like, you know, the whole thing with Pee Wee is complicated. In reality, Paul Rubens was very guarded and very much in control of everything to do with the Pee Wee character. I don't know how much control Jim Varney had over the Ernest character, because it was always the same company that like he made the commercials with. They made the movies, and they were all directed by one of these 2 guys. something Coke and so John
Sam
Cherry
Coke
and
and
Sam
John
Coke.
Yeah, but
Cherry.
Yeah.
he came up
Yeah.
with them also though. Like they all came up together.
Right.
Like,
And
this character,
I mean,
so
yeah, I mean that's true, but they never they never split up. In the case of Pee-wee, all the people he started doing the Pee-wee character with, he eventually kind of split ways with them, with maybe possible exception of like John Paragon stuck around, who played John B. the Genie, but like Phil Hartman was instrumental in developing the character with Pee-wee, and like they had kind of a falling out, but not to get too much on Pee-wee, we're talking about
Ernest
the
was the Ringo Starr. Paul Rubens was the John Lennon.
Or you could say that one was the Beatles and one was the Monkees. But hey,
Ernest was the
sometimes-
Monkees, man. You know what? Like I don't need
kinda
this
was,
whole
yeah.
Beatles
I'll
craze.
give you that.
Like
honestly,
everyone can have it. Just
they
put
had
on a
fun.
Monkees record and just hang out. Yeah. Just chill.
Yeah.
We don't need to
Pee-wee-
get deep into it.
Yeah, but it is not quite pitch time yet, but it will be soon, and they
So
are
what's your
flying.
favorite though? Can I ask like
Yeah,
which one?
exactly.
Can I just say, if I say this to you guys or whatever, does this stand out or whatever? I'm gonna go with the big four, right?
Right.
No, so like this is what I would call the big four as far as the Ernest series goes. And see if you guys agree with me here. Camp, Christmas, Jail, and Scared Stupid.
Okay, so you're Disney. I get it.
Okay, right? Yeah. And then everything else is kind of like varying degrees of like, whatever, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, I have not even seen Ernest Goes to Africa, so.
What?
I know.
think I have,
That's true.
but
I've seen 8 out of 9, but Slam Dunk, I haven't seen the whole thing. I've tried.
I'm sure I've
think probably similar. Honestly, to be fully all cards on the table, probably similar with Missing I always call it Missing in Action. Ernest in the Army. That's another one.
Slam Dunk is probably better than Rides Again, and also better than Goes to Africa. I mean, it's just like it's obvious, like just watching it, like budgetarily, like the whole production.
That's why we're not friends. Here's the problem.
Okay.
Ernest Rides Again gave you a bonus though. There's a bonus track there. It had a Mr. Bill episode as part of it.
Padding the runtime for it. So
I don't care. It's Mr. Bill. All right.
Yeah, Mr. Bill.
There's a thing in this world that never gets acknowledged, and that is Mr. Bill. And I'm here to
Oh, it
right
got
this
fucking
wrong.
acknowledged. Yeah, we all had the 90s SNL tapes. They all shoved that Mr. Bill tape down our throats, and it was the worst tape in the whole time.
Shove your tongue down your own throat. If you insult my Mr. Bill, you are a communist, and you don't belong in this country.
I don't know. Mr. Bill is one thing I never got, and I guarantee you no one in the audience is a Mr. Bill fan, so we should definitely keep it
We
rolling.
were friends at the beginning of this episode. Now, sir, we're in.
I think they made an Ernest movie where they take a 20-minute break for him to be driven around by Toonsis the driving cat. Like I get, it's
that would have been more tolerable than Mr. Bill for me personally.
All right, I listen. I'm probably the most. I'm gonna take a stand here and say I probably have watched all the Ernest things. I've even watched the movie Dr. Otto.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Dr. Otto.
Yeah,
I saw that thinking that it was an Ernest movie somehow initially.
Sir, and you know what's
and it's not.
That
It's
was
very
the
different.
First movie that they did. Dr. Otto was the first movie before they did Ernest Goes to Camp.
Oh wow, that's cool. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, Dude,
I remember that coming on when I was a kid, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? Like, this is not. This is so far,
Dr.
I just remember seeing the box with him,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I'm gonna be vanilla, I guess, and say that my single most favorite Ernest, although it's like literally a photo finish between Scared Stupid and Christmas.
Oh wow!
I think Scared Stupid gets the edge. I
thought you were gonna say Jail.
I thought so
Jail.
too.
I do love Jail. Like Jail is excellent. There's a lot. Again, like I love the early Ernest stuff, but Scared Stupid, I think, is the one that you want to watch every single year.
Well, you know what it is? It's a good Ernest movie, but it's actually also a good like Halloween kids movie.
Yeah.
Like
I put it neck and neck with Hocus Pocus, where it's like kids like horror, like those are the best two of the 90s. There's nothing else on that like Mount Rushmore. Like it's just those two, and then there's a bunch of other stuff. You know. No disrespect, you know. But
those 4 movies though that Steven mentioned are definitely like just core memories of my childhood, and just laughing your ass off in front of the TV with my sister or whoever, my parents, if they're watching. And, you know, just all
maybe a better analogy would have been the Led Zeppelin. It's like the first 4 Led Zeppelin albums, you know. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Everyone loves those, and then you have like the later stuff. But
How can you hate physical graffiti? God, why are we friends? I swear to God.
We should start a music podcast.
Yeah, no.
So we can compare albums to movies.
I will say I will say this: my least favorite Ernest thing ever. Yes. My least is going to be "Hey Verne, It's My Family" album. One of the weirdest home video things of all time. I don't get it. I don't laugh at that one. It's just Jim Barney playing all these different family members, and it's just not. I never could get into that.
Man, that sounds.
It sounds familiar, but it also sounds like some kind of fever dream that maybe
it was like a compilation. It was definitely a cash grab on video kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know, on the
Ernest shelf. This sounds like a compilation of like eating paint chips and gas station pizza and like some hallucination.
No.
You eat some Iowa cactus and.
What would you say is the lowest on the totem, Ian, or whatever, as far as material that anyone else is familiar with?
I like how you worded that. Probably the lowest on the totem pole, I would say, is Ernest Goes to Africa. And my only reason for it is that it didn't look the same. They used a digital camera.
The budget must have been so much lower.
Unfortunately, you could tell that Jim Barney was not doing well at that time. He was definitely sick at the time. It wasn't as energetic. It just wasn't the same as any of the other ones. So Ernest Goes to Africa is at the bottom. Ernest in the Army, actually, I think is pretty good. I would actually put that one over Slam Dunk or Goes to School.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, I actually like In the Army. That's actually a pretty funny one. I stand by that show. That show is just, but again, that's for me personally. The show is my gateway. I love that show.
I think there's honestly a healthy balance between like the more that I think about the Ernest series in hindsight, I think there's a healthy balance between like how guarded PeeWee was about the character and like what they did with Ernest, because I think eventually that like they knew it was direct to video anyways, so they like it's sort of like when keep with the metaphors today, but like when a really superior team loses to an inferior opponent because they played down, they took them lightly. Or like a boxer gets knocked out by some like amateur because he's like, he's not training hard.
It's sports now.
It's sports now, yeah. And I went too deep down the metaphor, and yeah, I'm looking at the chat, and there's Ernest gets an OnlyFans pitch.
But I'll say this: at its worst, though, you can say Jim Varney cared.
Oh, sure.
And I definitely am going to be very nostalgic
he cared
about it.
I feel like the team, like at the end of it, they weren't writing good movies anymore. They were writing titles,
Oh yeah, it was it definitely got into Rob Schneider territory.
I mean, it kind of started that
Ernest
way.
Ernest is a stapler. Ernest is a whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it did get that way. But I will say that Jim Varney, though, what a talent that we lost. I mean that, and didn't get beyond the Ernest movies the respect that he could have gotten. That I think if the stupid beast of cancer had not taken this poor angel, I think like 10 years after he had passed, I think there would have been this resurgence of Jim Varney to do other roles, and I think we would have gotten a legend, like kind of like how Michael Keaton now. People are really getting like Michael Keaton back into a groove of things.
It's
weird.
And
giving him the respect that he should have gotten in 1987.
When he did fucking Clean and Sober.
I feel like Jim Varney was kind of getting breaks towards the end of it. Like he was actually getting to be in like big Hollywood movies for the first time. He was kind of
Beverly Hillbillies was a big movie,
yeah.
Which he's hilarious in that movie. That is a great film.
Part of the reason why I like Jail so much is you get he's playing fucking two characters and he kills them both. So, he's great. He's a
That is
fantastic
true.
actor.
Yeah, that may be his best performance, probably, JL.
Yeah.
But I mean, just Scared Stupid is just so rewatchable. So
Can
much.
you imagine Jim? Can you imagine Jim Varney in like Blow? Like
Yeah,
that.
I
like,
can imagine him.
Instead
I
of
can
Paul
imagine him,
Rubens in that
yeah.
movie, it was Jim Varney. Like or that dark, deep, the Jim Varney David Lynch movie. Like that.
I want Ernest in Less Than Zero. Ernest.
There's a movie. There's a movie with Jeff Speakman, who was in like Expert.
Man,
really awesome.
Yeah,
90s martial art movies. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. But Ernest was in it. He played like his underground gun runner, who they had to go see and get weapons from while, and
what
he had I remember he worked at a shooting range. If you look up Ernest's filmography,
Jim Varney.
It'll show. I can't remember the name of it, but it's
well, it's definitely not Snowboard Academy. I can tell you that.
Snowboard Academy is great. I love Snowboard Academy.
Like The Expert or something like that with Jeff Speakman. It's one of
so like, oh yeah, he was in Toy Story too. Right towards the end.
Yeah, he was Woody,
in a perfect world, he would have probably done camp and been like, all right, we're on the decline now. But that would have been enough to have launched him. And then he wouldn't have spent the next, 5 years still making direct-to-video Ernest movies.
I think, you know what? I think, honestly, there's a loyalty to Jim Varney. And that's why he stayed with these guys. He's like, look, these guys, launched me onto the scene. Yeah, I could just tell them to go fuck themselves and, they'd be screwed because they'd have nothing without me. And I think he stuck around for them. I think, the point he did Beverly Hillbillies, yeah, he could have just gone on and done whatever he wanted. Or he could have just fucking sat on, that kind of money or whatever. But
was that movie called I'm sorry, was that movie called The Expert?
The Expert, yeah, that's Jeff Speakman.
Oh, I love
Great.
it. Yeah, give me
it's a fun 90s Jeff Speakman with the fucking sticks with the Filipino.
Give me a fucking canon movie with Ernest, give me American Ninja,
veins,
7 with Ernest, like it would be awesome. Like that.
No, you know what? Do you remember Drive a few years back? And they had Albert Brooks as the villain. How awesome would it have been to have Jim Varney as that guy?
Oh, that would have been great. I mean, that's the type of roles he played in like little kid movies, like Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain.
He wasn't.
I mean, there were so many vehicles that could have been. He could have
Ernest versus Hulk Hogan. Ernest versus Hulk Hogan should have been like legendary moment, and it wasn't. It was a low point for both of them, and for the Three Ninjas all at one point. It's really their fucking like the way down the Boogie Nights scene. Like it's a bad moment for all of them crossing paths.
And that's another one I loved as a kid, just because it took place at Magic Mountain.
I would love to have seen Ernest in like Boogie. Now that I think of Boogie Nights, a Boogie Nights type of movie, like the Burt Reynolds type of role, and something like
that would have been Oscar. Jim Varney would have won an Oscar. I stand by this. If that man had stayed around, that man would have won an Oscar.
I like
he should win a fucking retroactive Lifetime Achievement Award for sure.
But he would have also been doing like a mystery man. He would have been in all of those. You know what I mean? Like he would have found his comedic crew of like up and comers too. I think eventually
he would have been a Marvel villain, and then that would have been like now you're A-list. Him and Downey would have been like they would have been the rise of the late 2000s. But there are pitches in the chat. They're playing pitches in the chat. So
I was gonna say I had a pitch.
Okay.
All right.
Put it in the chat.
If AI,
put in the chat, and I'll get to you.
If AI ever becomes a real thing,
I think it is a real thing, Ian.
No, it's stupid. But if it comes to a point where it really is making movies, it can really actually help. I would love an animated movie of Ernest with Jim Varney's AI voice. I don't want anybody else playing Ernest.
Well, that's like fucking technology from a couple of years ago now. That's not hypothetical. They could do that. They could do that fucking 5 years ago.
I would love to maybe see that or another like cartoon show for kids.
So I'm not bold enough to pitch like how you do this today without Jim Barney or without AI or
I agree
whatever.
with you. No.
So like I'm just gonna pretend like it's the time travel pitch. Like this is the Ernest movie we should have gotten right after Scared Stupid. Like that's kind of what I would like to, like what would the next theatrically released Ernest movie have been?
Instead of the next 6, we got this one.
Yeah,
I get
like
that.
yeah,
With their
whatever.
budget.
Yeah, instead of going this way and to direct-to-video land, what if we went even bigger, like Scared Stupid? Like all right,
So we're
more
in
money,
Disney
more money,
territory again, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
So we're Disney really. All right, I got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to stew on this. What are some of our pitches in the chat?
So yeah, okay. So there are plenty of pitches in the chat. There is Ernest goes to meth cook school. Ernest goes airborne, of course.
Of course, why not?
Yeah. Some love for Camp and Jail on Tape. A lot of scared stupid love. Let's see. Ernest gets an OnlyFans verse on that one. Let's see. Ian may love Chris Stiles, but save that emotion for Airborne the musical, says Gold's Code.
You gotta write it.
He's pitching
Prove
Ernest
it in
goes
the
to VCR.
writing, fool.
He's pitching Ernest goes to VCR Redux. Ernest goes to rehab. Ooh, I would love Ernest goes
Ernest
to rehab.
goes to VCR Redux. So it's just him on the show.
Yeah, just him on the show.
Talking about
you know what I
Ernest
mean,
movies?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Popping in his
I'll tell you
all
what,
4
I'll pitch
characters
this,
or
man.
different versions of Ernest. It would be amazing.
God,
Let's
that
see.
would-
You know what I got to pitch for, Verne?
Well, I'll tell you the pitch that
Speed
won my heart.
4. Like that's what
pitch
that would be amazing.
The pitch that won my heart, honestly, in the chat was, and it's kind of a blend of what I'm saying and what they did, but it's Ernest Goes to Canada, and it comes from the great Whiskey 4-1, Alex Bonafonte. And yes, I love it because, like everyone's going to Havana Nights or like goes to Miami, goes to Washington, goes to New York, goes to LA, goes to Hollywood, goes to Las Vegas, goes to space. Everyone's done all that. So that's something fresh. Like no one goes to Canada. That's not a thing, but Ernest could make it a thing and it could be great.
I guess he could do anything and it works because who cares?
It would
right?
be
Like,
funny.
But I mean,
surviving in the forest.
the obvious ones were there though, like space. Like
right, space is obvious. Goes
Goes
to Hell would have been incredible, and it's Gold's Code pitches it in the chat.
In an alternate reality, Disney's Rocket Man is Ernest in space.
Also,
wow.
we could have gotten a Bill and Ted-esque vibe. Like obviously Ernest Goes to Hell is not going to be like him. It's not going to be.
I still love that.
Whatever, but we
should be.
That is one of my
keep
favorite
it, yeah.
posters you ever did, Chris.
It is
Ernest
good.
Goes to Hell.
But you could
What
keep it
about,
like on like a fun Bill and Ted-ish level and have him doing the same thing, heaven to hell, the tricky death, like that kind of shit.
Ernest
that would
Bogus
play.
Journey.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, that's how you'd have
The
to do it.
Odyssey, but it's Ernest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there it
Odyssey,
is. I think. Wow.
Yeah.
What you want to basically do? Ernest Inferno.
Ernestius.
Yeah, Ernestius. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I love it.
That would be great.
That could
That would be
there's
great.
a
Or like
you say that, but imagine. All right,
And back in the day,
I'm
with
going-
Andre
I'm going
the
away
Giant
from the
playing the
Dis- I'm-
Cyclops.
I want to go away from
yeah.
the
You wanna
Disney
do that?
version. There is a 1996 home to video version of Ernest Odyssey, and you
You're
can
making
see it.
things up now. You just
Yeah,
You can see it.
everything
though,
you're
and
talking
it'd be
about is so
hilarious.
obscure. Yeah.
There's a
That would be
ski
good.
instructional video of the Aspen 1987 season of Jim Varney in Ernest character as a. I would love the Ernest ski movie though. I mean, we did get Snowboard Academy.
Yeah, Ernest. I mean,
There-
Ernest hits the slopes. Like that could have
Listen,
been legit.
I am tired of people not acknowledging that these were real things. But there was Leslie Nielsen's Bad Golf VHS.
Oh
There was
yeah,
Dwarf
dude,
Does
I heard
Golf.
that.
Dwarf
Friends
yeah,
Why
of-
was there
huh?
not Ernest Goes Golfing?
Jim Varney
Yeah,
never
that
went
would be a good
golfing
one.
with his camera buddy.
That could have been a
Sure, there
good.
would have been.
Actually, honestly, Ernest. Yeah, you come up with a clever title, like Ernest. Something of play on words. I don't know golf terms, so I'm not even gonna try. But I'm sure there's something witty in there. Ernest hits the green, or Ernest hits the links, or whatever
There
the
are
fuck,
two consistent elements to all of these movies, and that is
Right.
Jim Varney and the dog acting. And I really appreciate fucking dog acting. I very much do, more than people acting. Honestly, I think it's incredible when a dog can like hold their own in a movie.
Yeah.
It's wild. But Rimshot, that dog, whoever that,
I know what you
Wishbone,
mean.
I think it's the same dog. That dog.
Not Wishbone, get out of here.
I think it was right. No, it looked just like
I
it.
don't know. You know what though? There are a couple animal actors that like ruled the '90s, and
that's this was one of them.
Rimshot was quality.
Was this the same dog from The Mask?
Out of here.
I don't know, but I would not be surprised. That dog from The Mask was in a lot of shit. That was some canon shit. Like, I want to sign the monkey on the contract.
Right? I'll bet that's Rim. I'll bet this is all the same
Wishbone
dog. 'Cause
was the spark notes for the people who couldn't go to the bookstore.
Yeah. Yep.
Spark notes. Now I feel old.
I had an idea
so some more
too
pitches.
that popped in my head.
Oh yeah.
Just it was this. If we're gonna play Wish, and they should have, could have, would have. They should have combined Weekend at Bernie's and Ernest. Weekend at Ernest, and now Ernest has to go take care of Bernie. Yeah. Well,
that would be great.
Whatever. Yeah, Ernest has
great.
to take care of Bernie for a weekend.
I honestly, I kind of thought of like Ernest Goes to Beverly Hills, because it would have been a little bit different than like Ernest Goes Hollywood or something, But again, a fish out of water, and like, what could you put? I kind of think, what kind of environment could you put Ernest in where like people would, it would be tough for him.
Well, again, he's the only
snooty Beverly Hills people would not like him.
He's the only thing that's consistent. Again, like like you could. It doesn't matter. Like he has a different job in a different place every movie, and it doesn't make it. Like
right.
It's just if he's doing him, then you could pretty much put him anywhere, and it works.
Yeah. He's like
nothing against Daniel Stern, but Bushwhacked would have been a great Ernest vehicle.
Oh yeah, that would have been really good
perfect
for
him.
Ernest.
Yeah.
I love Daniel Stern in that movie, and I wouldn't trade Bushwhack for anything. But
you know what though? It's honestly, it's too close to Goes to Camp now that I think about it. Though. I give it a second thought, and it's like, oh, we kind of did that already. So yeah, I mean, they could have been a better version of it for sure.
Am I the only one? Whenever you hear the Turtles happy together, you think of Ernest Goes to Camp?
Nope, that's all I've been thinking about since we've been talking about this. But yeah,
okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the parachuting turtles and the if I am me and you, I do. Yeah. Yeah.
So there are a lot more pitches in the chat. Andrew Saunders, the Mashup Genius, pitches Ernest beats the Karate Kid. I am all for that. I love all things Karate Kid related. Alex Monfonte is Ernest Trek V, The Voyage Home. Calm down, Ian. Contain yourself.
That's pretty
Gold's
good.
Code. Because I always joke that my life in nightlife was Ernest Goes to South Beach, and of course I would watch that. The point is, I would watch all of these. We have Ernest goes
Ernest
to
as Scarface, like what?
Or
Monica.
you can do like Baywatch Nights, but with Ernest. I'd watch that.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. He's the Mitch Buchanan. Fuck yeah, just take my money. 100%.
Solving mysteries and fucking
yes.
Haunted houses. And
he's the salty beach hunk, and you like Naked Gun his body double, so you show him from like the chest down running, and it's like a young ripped man, tan, and then you cut up to his face, and he's like got the big goofy smile on.
It just occurred to me that this might be all I've ever wanted, and it's never gonna happen. That's like an existential. I'm having like an existential moment right now, realizing that.
Yeah, it would be the most 90s thing imaginable, and it would be fantastic. Oh, I love it. So some more pitches in the chat, though. I don't want to leave anyone out. We got Monica Thyman there, says, Ernest goes to Sweden for Midsummer Madness. I'm there, 100%. Gold's Code with the brew of pitches here. Ernest goes to Death Row. Ernest goes to the drug dealer. Ernest goes to CVS. Ernest goes to the zoo. Ernest goes to Afghanistan. Ernest goes to Valverde, which God, I love. Ernest goes to Spring Break. Ernest Gone Wild. Ernest goes to the brothel. Ernest goes to an Iron Man concert.
Stop it.
And Ernest goes to the army. So that's an 11-point combination.
One of those was one of the movies.
Yes, but you know what?
Actually, I think two of those were technically, yeah. You're just pitching Ernest Goes to War instead of Ernest in the army. Which is a lot darker.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay,
but the Rambo, I do always want the First Blood Part 2.
That just sparked something. Ernest Through Time. Imagine a Forrest Gump version of an Ernest movie where it's Ernest throughout history, and you just like you have Ernest at San Juan Hill, You know, like you have Ernest at, you know, Pearl Harbor or not.
Oh,
Pearl
he's
Harbor,
just
but
he's just uncontrollably like flowing through time, like or whatever, jumping through time.
Oh,
Whenever,
that'd have
instead
been
of
amazing.
yeah, instead of like the whole like he's got control, he's got a time machine, he's got whatever.
And
In the Ernest
inadvertently saving the
fashion,
day.
yeah, he's inadvertently just jumping all over time and can't control it.
Oh, which is basically Ernest gets a time machine. Is
Right.
essentially what that movie is.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
Which would
That's
work.
the
That would
title.
have worked so well.
That's the title.
I've
Yep.
often,
Ernest gets a
I
time
know
machine.
this is like, you know, a little ridiculous, but I've often wanted all the like the kind of kind-hearted 80s and 90s guys to somehow do a movie together, right? Like, you know, it's obviously it'll never happen. Ernest is no longer with us, Pee-wee's no longer with us, but like, you know, guys like that and like Urkel, you know, like I don't know who else you could throw into that, like Pauly Shore, like they're not like
there's a movie poster in my
huge,
head.
you know.
Oh, sorry. I mean, there's a movie poster in my head, real quick, of Elvira driving that car from her movie with with Ernest sitting shotgun and Pee-wee in the back middle. You know,
It's
and
basically back to the beach with
car, yeah.
And
Elvira's driving it.
And again, all these movies are just whatever movies. Like none of them have anything to do with these characters or whatever else. Like they could literally, you take the three of them, put them in a thing together, and they could just do whatever. You know?
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, now I'm gonna have to fucking Photoshop that poster onto the back of the beach thing. Thank you, Ian. That's too good.
You need to, I mean, literally add every 80s character you can into that back to the beach car, because that's really what we want.
Oh,
you want
okay.
what's the cartoon? What's the Barbara Bush cartoon you always bring up?
It's not. I don't know why you associate with Barbara Bush, because I never saw that connection to it. But it's
She's
Cartoon
on the
All-Stars.
video.
It's Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue. I don't remember her being on the video, but that wasn't at my Blockbuster.
She's the first lady.
Yeah,
I know who Barbara Bush.
Yeah, it was her anti-drug video.
She introduces the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, I must have not known who the fuck she was at the time, because I watched that like 100 times and I just remember every cartoon character being in it.
Disrespectful, un-American bastard. Like,
I have nothing against Barbara Bush. I'm sure she she's a little too thorny.
I don't want to get into it on here.
We met once. She had a few drinks, got way too thorny.
We'll talk after.
I don't like those prickly bushes. Anyway, so there's some great ones in the chat, and Whiskey 41 with Ernest gets a prostate exam, and Angie Saunders with a genius one. Ernest goes to Amsterdam. That's the drug movie.
Good
you
Lord.
get the vacation. You get the people like he doesn't realize it, but everything people are handing him is drugs, and he's like, drugs. Ream shot. I didn't realize that was gonna get us high.
That's the one shtick that I can't believe we never got in any of those movies is the, you know, like rim shot.
Eat these cookies,
What's going on? You know,
and rim shots flying around, like
right. And then we get like
I do have a debate question. Ernest long sleeve or Ernest short sleeve?
Well, depending on the movie. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if he's gonna hit the slopes, then obviously long sleeve. I don't need the man to suffer anymore.
I think Ernest only belongs in short sleeve.
Well, I
think Christmas it was fine. I mean, it's Christmas time. He doesn't even have a jacket. It's a jean jacket, Ian.
Yeah. But in Christmas he has short sleeve.
He wears a dress half the time. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is the most ridiculous thing.
It doesn't really matter.
This isn't
I get involved.
But I love that this is like your Superman, trunks or no trunks kind of thing.
It really is.
Like, sleeves or not, god damn it, it's important. Like,
as long as that vest is sleeveless.
I don't care as long as it's cold and wet.
So some more in the
I
chat.
could have that voice be like I could have that voice as my navigation, and it'd be everything. It's the old lady voice.
So there is a really, really long one in the chat. I'll leave it for you guys to read, because it will probably just take me too long, and I'll skip lines and stuff. But Whiskey 41 has a long one he emailed in. Angie Saunders has a good one also. Ernest beats up Andre the Giant. Gold's Code's got one. His pitch: Ernest is a school janitor who gets caught up in a feud between Mitchell and the Preps. Now Ernest will blade up and boogie down in Devil's Mountain. Ernest goes airborne. Wow.
Thank
Gold's Code is here to save the day every fucking week. His
One of the
second
movies-
pitch.
Oh, sorry.
Please.
No. I just think the job thing is always interesting. I think it was school that he is a janitor.
He is janitor, yeah.
That's why it works. It's beautiful. I love the continuity. Gold's Code respecting the lore. Well played, sir. His second pitch, Ernest is on staff at a Christmas party until terrorists take over the building. Now he must save both the hostages. Now he must save both the hostages and Christmas. And Ernest goes to Nakatomi Tower.
That's pretty funny.
See,
That's
I would,
great,
I would love like
that.
a pseudo self-serious
Ernest dies
action
hard.
movie.
Yes,
Ernest,
Commando, First Blood Part
but
2.
he's, you know,
Die Hard.
He's the only one in an Ernest movie when everybody else is like, "What the fuck is gonna happen?" You know, like what is
funny?
He's
like
like stuck
it's
into
all
that.
serious. Like you have the cop, like, "God damn it, Ernest!" Like, "God damn it, Worrell! You blew up a whole city block." You know?
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Like
There's a funny version out there of Tropic Thunder, but if it was Ernest instead of Ben Stiller.
No, God.
So in the spirit of these Commando pitches, Gold's Code has another one. His pitch is Ernest is babysitting until terrorists kidnap Jenny. Now Ernest must get her back before her father comes home. It's Ernest Goes Commando. I mean, that's fucking gold right there.
Who the hell is Jenny?
I think that's the one.
That title is pretty funny.
I'm pretty sure
Ernest
that's
Goes
the one.
Commando.
Yeah.
That's the one.
That is good.
fucking-
Ernest Goes Commando is a great. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that and Ernest Gone Wild. I mean, those are both
Ernest Gone
just
Wild.
Ernest
Yeah,
Gone
absolutely
Wild.
brilliant.
Because that's what you put him
what
down.
kind of
like,
fever?
yeah.
At the end of it, like if we're gonna go down the like tubes, like just give me that at the end of it.
Oh
Where
yeah,
it's, you know,
that's where he's like he accidentally winds up at like a lake spring break thing or whatever, you know, and he's just. Or he's working there. Of course, he's working there. He's like a dock worker.
Mardi Gras. He's on Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
And then you have the Boogie Nights one, where after the aftermath of that is he's like in a parking lot in a van, like letting people pay to watch him. You know. Anyway.
Rim shot. Yeah.
But rim shot. Gold's Code also with the Ernest storms the Capitol. Holy Christmas.
Oh, for God's
I like to think.
Stop it now.
He accidentally stormed the Capitol. He was working there at the time.
You know what? That's a hat I will. That's a hat I will wear. Give me a denim hat that says "Ernest makes America great again." I'll wear that hat.
Oh my God. That would be fucking Ernest runs for office. Ernest goes to Washington. That certainly
Ernest goes to Washington.
That certainly has got potential there. Another one, again, if we run a little bit late, I do apologize. But Gold's Go with pitch. Ernest visits Wuhan on a cultural exchange program and accidentally releases a certain virus. It's Ernest gets COVID.
All right, stop. Get him off. Just cut him off.
We broke Ian again.
We're
that
done.
is the last pitch. Other than more details on the Ernest going to Canada, having poutine, beaver tail, ketchup, chips, maple syrup, Letterkenny, Trailer Park Boys, and the legit brothels. Someone knows a lot about Canada in the live chat, so I love Canada, but I'm more of the Rush, Michael J. Fox, Neil Young, Jim Carrey school. But we are almost out of time. I think we've given you about 75 watchable Ernest pitches here, so
there are about 400.
And then 400 also. So maybe I'll mash up a few of those and at least give you some visual poster aids for those. But before we close it out and say goodnight, do you guys have anything in the works going on you want to let people know about? Any retro themed Ian articles, Steve Crash Romeo stuff?
Stay tuned this week for a B movie challenge of a John Carradine sliced together movie called Invasion of the Animal People.
Ooh,
wow, he's up with the hard sell.
Oh, it's a hard sell.
Ian, by the way,
Get me a John Carradine.
I read your last article, Ian. It was at work or whatever.
About Robo
War?
What's that? Say that again.
Robo War?
Yes, I read the Robo War article.
Oh, man,
it was
that's
fun. Well done. Yeah,
fantastic.
That's
it's
the movie
Predator, but with a Robo Man.
Yeah, that's wild.
Fantastic piece of cinema.
That's what I need. Ernest Goes to Robo War.
Yeah,
it's just
Robot
Jim Barney walking around.
Robot Jocks is so much fucking amazingly more fun and awesome than Robo War could ever be. But is there anything going on retro themed these days?
Yeah, we got an interview in the works with Nancy Cohn, who was the costume designer for like Ninja 3.
Ooh,
And
nice.
she went on to do all Demi Moore's costumes for her career. So
Wow.
stay tuned for that. That's a fun one. It's a wild fucking ride. Talks about early canon stuff, working with like Chuck Norris and stuff. So that'll be an interesting one. So stay tuned for that.
Wow, yeah, that sounds fantastic. You better fucking, yeah, I'm definitely sharing that post when that hits. But at any rate, we are just about out of time. So you Fandom fans might want to tune in next Wednesday at 9 p.m. for a mystery episode of VCR Redux. As always, if you enjoyed this video, the best way to help is smash that like button and leave a comment telling us what movie or TV franchise that you want us to cover on a future episode. And since you're already doing that, you might as well go ahead and like, subscribe, and follow Retro Fiend Radio, Fandom Spotlight, and Pop Culture Punk. Till then, back up those Betamax, rewind those Laserdiscs, and we'll see you at the movies.